Hi everyone. Can I ask while we wait, how many here are dog parents or dog lovers? Raise your hands. Show of hands would be nice. Okay, great. It's always a source of deepest joy to have conversations around dogs. I think you put dog lovers in a room and or on a stage, and chances are you'll have to ring a bell to make us stop. Pet parents know it is a unique and a very special kind of bond. I'm very fortunate to be in conversation with two very accomplished panelists who are also dog parents. K R Meera needs absolutely no introduction. She's a legend and a giant in literature. I've always been awed by the power of her writing, her fearlessness, and even though I've had the good fortune of working with her for a while now, a suitable agency represents K R Meera. She's always been gracious. But I think my relationship with her really changed when she spoke to me about her dog, Teddy. Our other panelist, and someone we are going to start this session with, is Divya Dugar. She has a wonderful page on Instagram called Chaos in a Coupe. I think we first connected when I requested her to write a piece in the Book of Dog. Since then, we've had many conversations, but they invariably end up being about dogs. Divya has led a remarkable life, traveling around the country with her dogs. Her book, Chaos in a Coupe, talks about this. It is an extraordinary book, which we will talk about in a bit. This is the book, Chaos in a Coupe. It's available at the bookstores here. Please do check it out, especially if you're a dog parent. But Divya, let's begin with you. Tell us about Chaos in a Coupe and about your first dog.
The name Chaos in a Coupe came by I did 75 train journey in the first class of Indian Railways with my three rescue dogs, Marco Polo, Pari, and Tigress. And it started with that first train journey, which where I wanted to go from New Delhi to Goa on Trivandrum Rajdhani. And since then, it's been an addiction. We have done over 75 train journeys.
Continue and then
And so this is how Chaos in a Coupe, the name of my book and Instagram handle comes from. Our travels across India on 75 train journeys on the first class of Indian Railways, 50 road trips. We flew them to Paris and they live with me in Bangkok. But I think that first dog for me was my dog Tigress. She's no more. She passed away at 17. But it was a deep love affair and companionship. I rescued her when I was 23 years old, and we spent 17 years together navigating all sorts from my first job, first house, marriage, and she's been part of everything. And this book is a love letter to her and indies in general.
Meera, we were just talking about the unique relationship that dog parents have. And I was mentioning how I mean, I've always been awed by you, but I think we really connected on a personal level when we started talking about Teddy and when I visited Teddy. Um,
Teddy doesn't know we are talking about her, and even if she does know, no, she doesn't care. That's one thing good about her, Teddy. അപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ കുറച്ച് മലയാളത്തിൽ പറഞ്ഞോട്ടെ. ഈ സെഷനെ പുറപ്പെടാൻ നേരം എൻ്റെ മകൾ എന്നോട് പറഞ്ഞു, അമ്മ പറയുന്നത് വളരെ ശ്രദ്ധിക്കണം. കാരണം അമ്മ എന്തു പറഞ്ഞാലും ഇത് എതിരെ ഇപ്പോൾ എനിക്ക് നായ്ക്കളെ ഇഷ്ടമാണ് എന്ന് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞാൽ മീര പറയുന്നു മനുഷ്യർ മരിച്ചാലും ഒന്നുമില്ല എന്നായിരിക്കും റിപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുന്നത്. അതുകൊണ്ട് ബി കെയർഫുൾ എന്ന് അമ്മ എന്നോട് പറഞ്ഞു. ഇനി ഇത് പറഞ്ഞതുകൊണ്ട് മീര മാധ്യമങ്ങളെ വിമർശിച്ചു എന്ന് പറയരുത്. സോ ഐ എം സോറി ഫോർ ബീങ് ലേറ്റ്. ഇതൊരു ഇതൊരു ഒരു നമ്മൾ വെൻ ഐ വാട്ട് വെർ യു സ്പീക്കിംഗ് അബൌട്ട് yeah, you were asking me about Teddy. Teddy is the last entrant into my life. And she had been grooming me for all these years, since 2017. So now I think I am her pet rather than she is my pet. She doesn't belong to anyone, only that I belong to her. She has such an attitude. And I am so indebted to her that it was from Teddy that I found that, or I discovered that an animal is not just an animal, but an individual. Every animal is an individual. Be it once it has even a bird with we say what we say that a bird's brain, no, but even in that brain there is something which actually connects them to us in a particular way that they stress on their individuality, and we have to respect them. We don't speak about animal dignity anymore, even not about human dignity. But of course, an animal has a dignity. And once you respect that, its space and its individuality and its character, it does make a lot of changes in our life, uh, more than in their life. So Teddy taught me how to speak to an animal. I found out the secret language which an animal uses to communicate to us. And it was kind of a revelation to us. That's what I learned from her. And she was the first puppy which I brought up from the puppy stage. Although there were many other individuals, dog individuals in my life, they belong not to me but to my paternal grandmother. So the first ever puppy I could lay hands on was named Jik. We call him Jik. So he was an Alsatian, and I still remember that Friday evening when I was waiting for my paternal auntie to bring him home in that rustic village where my father was born, and I was standing by the entrance to the house, that is Idavadi we call, and looking at her carrying a carry bag with two eyes gazing out, no? And it was the loveliest sight I remember from my childhood. But he died a valiant death when my paternal grandmother was not there. She used to claim that he understands everything we say, and when she was away, my uncle was constructing a house, and some of the workers came shouting "Pamba, Pamba," and hearing this, he just broke off his leash and went there and fought with the cobra, and eventually he died, and it was such a shock to me. Um, I was always tormented by his thoughts because he was the first animal which showed a lot of affection to me. And then came, okay, I'll continue that later.
No, we can go on.
Yeah. Then after many years, another puppy entered our compound where I lived with my parents. And my sister and I, my sister's name is Tara. So Tara and I were secretly taking care of him. And my father found this out. Somehow my parents didn't like the idea of pets at home, no? They didn't like cats or dogs. Uh, so my father had a poultry farm-like thing, and in our compound, of course. And we had cows, but not dogs and cats, which are useless. So they didn't know what was the use of feeding a cat or dog. So when my father found out that this we are actually bringing up this dog, he asked one of his loyal assistants to get rid of it, and he fed him with some what I heard from was shards of glass in rice, and he died. And that was one thing again which broke my heart. എൻ്റെ അനിയത്തി പറയും ആ സംഭവത്തിന് ശേഷം ഞാൻ ഒരുപാട് ദിവസം ആലോചിച്ചിരിക്കുന്ന കണ്ടു. എന്നിട്ട് അവൾ കളിയാക്കി പറയായിരുന്നു. അപ്പോഴാണ് എനിക്ക് മനസ്സിലായത് വാൽമീകിയുടെ മീയാണ് മീര ചേച്ചിയുടെ മീ എന്ന്. ഓക്കെ, പക്ഷേ അതെന്നെ വല്ലാതെ തകർത്തൊരു സംഭവമാണ്. എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് അങ്ങനെ ഒരു മൃഗത്തോട് എൻ്റെ അച്ഛന് ചെയ്യാൻ സാധിച്ചതെന്ന് എനിക്കതങ്ങോട്ട് ഉൾക്കൊള്ളാൻ സാധിച്ചിരുന്നില്ല. ഈ എൻ്റെ സ്നേഹം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഒരു ആനിമലിൻ്റെ കണ്ണിൽ നിന്ന് വായിച്ചെടുക്കുന്ന, ഒരു മൃഗത്തിൻ്റെ കണ്ണിൽ നിന്ന് വായിച്ചെടുക്കുന്ന ഒരു ഭാഷ അതിഭയങ്കരമായിട്ട് നമ്മളെ എൻലൈറ്റൺ ചെയ്യുമെന്നാണ് എൻ്റെ അനുഭവം. അത് നിഷേധിക്കപ്പെടുക എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് വളരെ സങ്കടകരമാണ്.
Divya, your dogs, Marco Polo, Pari, Tigress, have been an integral part of everything you've done. And I think what you have done with Chaos in a Coupe and traveling with your dogs over 75 train journeys now, 75, is really shown in a very fundamental way that dogs are family. So tell us about how this started, because I know that you weren't born with dogs in your house, right? It came later. So tell us about your first dog interaction, how you rescued your first dog, and how the travel started.
So I come from a very traditional Marwari family, and all my life we've been told there's no need of any animals in my life. Dogs will bite you, they'll hurt you. So there was a deep conditioning. So first time I actually noticed a dog when I was 23. It was my office dog, Tigress. And I think it's just opened up something, a sort of a kindness, because I came from a very fractured, highly patriarchal family where my I think my whole life was sort of written that I will do college and I will get married, and it was all set. And when I started to work as a journalist and I met this dog, and it changed something. So when office shut down and they left this dog to really be on street, and I decided to rescue Tigress when I was 23, and Pondi and Marco Polo. And it was first time I felt a sense of family. They also had traumatic start of their life. They were all highly abused street dogs, and I came from this much of baggage with of my own family and my own parents, and we sort of healed each other. And this was my first, and I knew I could make it in a city like Delhi. I lived in a Delhi, and Delhi is not really the kindest of city if you are a single woman. And if you have three dogs, I think I struggled for 6 months just to rent a house for myself with dogs because no one wanted to rent me. And there's a lot of moral scrutiny around women who don't have partners or fathers or someone to sign up. And so this was my start of love affair with animals, and we became a family. And the traveling was part of, but came much later.
This is a question I'm going to ask both of you, but first, you, Meera. How has your relationship with dogs shaped your worldview, and how has it impacted your writing? Because I remember Kabar and how powerfully you depict that relationship. I think we always talk about our literary influences and we talk about various influences, but we don't really talk about our animal companions. But they do have a profound influence. We know that they change everything in terms of how we view the world. So, will you?
Of course, of course. Um, Actually, when I was writing Khabar, I wasn't much aware of the impact of animals in our life. But while I was doing a research on for the latest work, Kalachi, that I came across how animals had been instrumental and helpful in man's journey all over through the civilization and all, no? ഒരു കുതിരയില്ലായിരുന്നെങ്കിൽ വിത്തൗട്ട് എ ഹോഴ്സ് would man would have been able to build all these empires? I doubt. കുതിര മനുഷ്യന്റെ ചരിത്രം മാറ്റിമറിച്ചതുപോലെ മറ്റൊരു മൃഗവും മാറ്റിമറിച്ചിട്ടില്ല എന്നാണ് എനിക്ക് തോന്നിയിട്ടുള്ളത്. നായ മനുഷ്യന് നൽകിയ കമ്പാനിയൻഷിപ്പ് ഇല്ലായിരുന്നെങ്കിൽ പ്രകൃതിയിലേക്ക് പോകാൻ ഈ പ്രകൃതിയുടെ ഭാഗമായിട്ട് കൊണ്ടുവരാൻ മനുഷ്യർക്ക് സാധിക്കുമായിരുന്നില്ല എന്നാണ് എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നത്. അത് മനുഷ്യന് വേണ്ടി ഇവോൾവ് ചെയ്തൊരു മൃഗമാണ് നായ എന്നതുകൊണ്ട്. ബിക്കോസ് ഡോഗ് ആക്ച്വലി was tamed by men and actually trained to be a part of human life, no? So I don't think without animals there cannot be any literary work as well, any creative writing as well. I can't imagine how it would feel to see empty streets without dogs or other animals, no?
And that is something we should talk about towards in a bit, because obviously I think especially dogs on the streets in India are going through a grave moment right now, and we'll talk about that. But Divya, on to you. So you rescued Tigress when you were in your 20s, then you got married, you had two kids, you rescued two more dogs. How was the whole journey in terms of how do you manage to balance all the relationships?
I think for me, first sense of that maternal instinct came for my dogs. So I was a mother always. It's not that I became mother when my son or daughter Maria, so Elora was born. I was a mother at 23 to Tigress, then Pondi, then Marco Polo, now Pari. And my kids also don't differentiate between, they call them furry siblings, and they all co-sleep together and they stay together. It's absolutely most wonderful to see them growing up together. But more than that, for me, it was, I just never felt this kind of love ever. Like it was unconditional love, and I think that changed me, that gave me courage to do so much more. My life would have never been the same. I don't think so I ever imagined myself sitting here and talking about my life, because it was so simple. I grew up in a family where my father decided everything for me, and he was the one, what I wear, where I should be going, what I should be studying. I think my maternal grandmother sent me to this journalism school called Asian College of Journalism in Chennai, and that was my first step of stepping out and looking at the world absolutely differently. So I think I have been mother since I was 23 years old, and I'm never going to stop rescuing dogs. I've stopped having kids for sure, but not rescuing dogs.
Meera, Teddy is a female dog, and you've seen her go through various ailments, and we've spoken about that.
Almost every week.
Yeah.
The moment she sees me, she will have some ailment, and I will have to carry her like my child. I've never carried my daughter to hospital because her father will be doing that. But and my hands are too fragile to carry children, in fact. But in the case of Teddy, she insists that I should carry her, and I should carry her like a little princess and present her to the veterinary. Or
They know how to manipulate us. I think my dogs
Yes,
really do
exactly.
know how to do that.
So I read there are certain special muscles in a dog's eyes which can connect to, which can create some special neurons in a human brain, so that our tender feelings are invoked. No, of course, Teddy too has that. Every animal has. You look into the eyes of an animal and try to find out what they are speaking to you, and it is an enormous experience. It is better than reading the greatest literary work, I assure you.
I think the question I was going to ask was that what I have, and this is very funny you say this, because what my impression was Teddy was that she was very dignified, and she was very
She's very
You know-
dignified, and my daughter that's a big story. If
yeah,
we
yeah, yeah.
have
Please
time,
tell
no?
us that. Yeah.
See, when we got married, I forgot to ask Dilip one thing, whether he was comfortable with dogs and cats. So I wasn't aware of this aspect of married life where one partner doesn't like animals at all. So this came to my notice when, after quitting my journalist job, I was a journalist, and I quit my full-time job, and I started living as a writer, full-time writer, and I went for a morning walk, which was not possible when I was a journalist. So one day I woke up early morning and went for a morning walk, and I found two puppies on the roadside, quite near to my house. And one Tamil person was there. He was taking one of the puppies, and he asked me whether I want the other. And I looked at it, and I ran to me. So I couldn't say no to that puppy eyes, and then I became so empathetic that I took the puppy and brought it home. Dilly was out of town, and both my daughter and I were pampering the newcomer and giving her a space. And then Dilip returned and made a big scene saying that, no, 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 I can't tolerate dogs in this house at all. I was really helpless. I couldn't, but we somehow made him agree to keep it. And we named her, my daughter named her Julie, because one of the characters in some Hindi films in those days, was Julie. So it's Tom Shanti or no, something like that. So she was very fond of the name Julie, and she called her Julie. But then I was invited to meetings, and then there was no one to look after the dog kid, and it became a great issue. And so Dilip was jubilant. So he's told us, see, this is why I told you not to have a pet in this house. And then we had to give it to her, to a friend who was friends' relatives, in fact, and they looked after her well. But this left a hole in my heart, no? So I thought, okay, I'm not going to have any more pets in this house. But somehow one or another animal will come into my life, try to stay there, and somehow I miss them. They will disappear. സോ എനിക്ക് തോന്നി എൻ്റെ ജീവിതത്തിൽ ഇങ്ങനെ ഓരോ ആനിമലായിട്ട് വരും, വന്നിട്ടൊരു ഒരു ഒരു ശൂന്യത ഉണ്ടാക്കിയിട്ട് തിരിച്ചു പോകും. ഞാൻ അതിനെയൊക്കെ ഭയങ്കരമായിട്ട് സ്നേഹിക്കുകയും ചെയ്യും. അപ്പോൾ ഇതെനിക്ക് വലിയ പ്രശ്നമായിരുന്നു. അങ്ങനെ ഇരിക്കുമ്പോഴാണ് മൈ ഡോട്ടർ ഫിനിഷ്ഡ് her 12th സ്റ്റാൻഡേർഡ് ഫ്രം ഋഷി വാലി സ്കൂൾ, where there is a big compound and there are many dogs and cats in that, birds also in that compound. So when she came back, she fought a big battle. One day she was very determined to attack Dilip and make him agree that we are going to adopt a pet. And so she found from a friend a very sick and unhealthy female puppy and brought her home. So that's how Teddy came in. And I still remember the moment this puppy came, when they took her out of the car, we offered her milk, but instead of tasting the milk, she ran to me and she was showing her belly. And for the next 2-3 weeks I was there. Soon after that I had to leave for US, because I was offered a fellowship in the UPenn, University of Pennsylvania. So for the next 3 months I was away from home. But the day when I came back, I thought Teddy would have forgotten me, because I was with her for only 2 weeks. സോ വെനെവർ ഐ സോ ഹർ, എന്നെ ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ അമ്പരപ്പിച്ചൊരു കാര്യമാണ്, ഒരു നായ്ക്കുട്ടി അതിൻ്റെ ഭക്ഷണത്തെക്കാൾ ഈ സ്നേഹം കിട്ടുന്നതിന് വേണ്ടി ഇങ്ങനെ ചോദിച്ച് വാങ്ങുന്ന ഒരു സംഗതി. അതെനിക്ക് ഭയങ്കര അത്ഭുതകരം, സോറി ഐ ഡോണ്ട്. So it was such a surprising and unbelievable thing that an animal, instead of for food, choosing food, it is choosing a belly rub or a pat. And this somehow stirred my heart, no? So ഞാൻ തിരിച്ചു വന്ന ദിവസം I thought she must have forgotten me after 3 months. But to my surprise, she cried and came to jump over me, and she even peed on me. So
Marking, marking
then I
territory.
read about why puppies do that. And I was really surprised that I never expected anyone to love me like that. Today I'm sure that she is the only individual in that house who is genuinely happy when I step onto
Yeah, I think it's same for all of us. I think my kids or my husband don't wag their tails. My dogs are the one running to like greet me every single time, even if I'm gone for 15 minutes.
But how is Dilip now with Teddy?
Yeah, he is very fond of that. So Dilip is like, she has tamed Dilip in such a way that even when I'm sleeping, she won't make any sound. She will just tiptoe to him and then bark at him, so that she has to go outside. So he always complains that she knows I have no value in this house, and so that's why she is.
That's the same with my partner as well, because when I met Olivier and he has to babysit my 3 dogs. So he said, that's the only reason you want to be with me. So I said, that's first test that I want to be with you, and then I see we can be. And now Pari, so I'm a very competitive parent, but Pari and Marco Polo still love Olivier more because he walks them 2 hours every night, no matter what.
പക്ഷെ എനിക്കൊരു കാര്യം ഭയങ്കര അത്ഭുതകരമായിട്ട് തോന്നിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. അതായത് ഒരു മൃഗം ഇല്ലാതെ ജീവിക്കാൻ പറ്റാത്ത വിധം എന്തോ ഒന്ന് മനുഷ്യരിൽ ഈ സ്രഷ്ടാവ് ഉൽപ്പാദിപ്പിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. അതെന്താണെന്ന് എനിക്ക് മനസ്സിലായിട്ടില്ല. അത് നമ്മൾ അവരുമായിട്ട് ഷെയർ ചെയ്യുന്ന നമ്മുടെ ജനറ്റിക് മെറ്റീരിയൽ ആണോ എന്നറിയില്ല. ബിക്കോസ് വി ഷെയർ അവർ DNA, എ ലോട്ട് ഓഫ് അവർ DNA, മോസ്റ്റ് ഓഫ് അവർ DNA വിത്ത് ആനിമൽസ്. ആൻഡ് അതാണോ എന്നറിയില്ല. പക്ഷെ എന്തോ ഒന്നുണ്ട് ജനറ്റിക്കലി ട്രിഗറിങ് ആസ് ടു കണക്ട് വിത്ത് ആനിമൽസ്. അത് എനിക്ക് ഉറപ്പാണ്. ആസ് എ റൈറ്റർ ഞാൻ എപ്പോൾ ആളുകളെ ഒബ്സർവ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോഴും ആ ഒരു ആസ്പെക്റ്റ് ഞാൻ കാണുന്നുണ്ട്. ചലിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന, പ്രതികരിക്കുന്ന, ഏതെങ്കിലും വിധത്തിൽ റെസ്പോണ്ട് ചെയ്യുന്ന, നമുക്ക് പരിചയമില്ലാത്തൊരു ഭാഷയിൽ നമ്മളോട് സംസാരിക്കുന്ന, നമ്മുടെ സംഭാഷണം വേറെ ഏതോ ഭാഷയിൽ ട്രാൻസ്ലേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് മനസ്സിലാക്കുന്ന എന്തോ ഒന്ന് ഈ ജീവജാതികളിൽ പ്രകൃതിയോ അതിൻ്റെ സൃഷ്ടാവോ സൃഷ്ടിച്ചു വെച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടെന്ന് എനിക്ക് തോന്നിയിട്ടുണ്ട്.
Divya, tell us about Chaos in a Coupe. Tell us about some of the travels, some of the funny stories. I know that, for instance, that story about Pari always hiding because the coupe is. Why don't you tell us a bit about that?
So my book is about we traveled across India with my 3 dogs on Indian Railways, and I have a dog called Pari. So in Indian Railways, you can either book a whole coupe or cabin to travel with your dogs, and we used to book coupe because cabin was really more expensive. And we had 3 dogs, and we had to hide one because in a single PNR you can only travel with 2 dogs. So my dog Pari, who's a mixed hound, around 30 kg approximately, understood the drill. From since day one, she used to go and climb on the upper berth, sit, and we used to put a blanket on her and some bags, and she was never caught. She never used to move till that we used to say the word TT gone. That was her little cue, and that's about it. And she used to get up, and
You trained her to be a criminal.
yeah, you have to, So the Indian Railways versus Pari. And at the only time we were caught when we were just lounging around on a Vadodara railway station and the ticket checker wasn't moving. And we had to go in, it's 1 minute, 30 seconds. So I told Olivier, you go with 2 dogs from one side and I'll go with one from other. I think he will not see us. But of course he saw us and he was like, what is the third dog? So I say, it's just a puppy. It's just a puppy. And we managed to it. So Indian Railways is one of the main characters of my book as well, because the first class of Indian Railways plays a major role with 3 dogs and a toddler and me and my husband. So it was a really chaotic to be in that coupe, but we could see India in a completely different way. Not just that my family is still very against me having dogs because they think it's absolutely useless to spend money on them. You do it on your kids, so they buy gold and anything, but why to spend it on your dogs? So when I wanted to visit my grandparents in Rajasthan, I come from a small village near Shekhawati, they were really, really upset. And they said the whole village will talk that, there's a word called gandak, which is a very, really not a nice word to use for animals. And I insisted that I must come with them, and I really want them to be part of my childhood memories in that Haveli. So the only reason I could bring them when I told them that they can sense ghosts and spirits. And that was one point they said, this is it. They're going to be a ghostbuster and go and check every corner of our old house, whether there is a ghost or not. And that was the first time my grandparents welcomed the dogs. But when Tigress passed away over 17 years, they were so fond of her that I saw them crying. And then you say that dogs can really change anyone. If they could change my family, and definitely they can make that kind of a difference. So my book is a very funny anecdotes of different stories, from them being a chief guest in a kabaddi match, taking Indian Railways, loving the food of Indian Railways pantry. I think my dogs are the only ones who like Indian Railways food. And to being a furry ghostbusters, it's mixed of lot of anecdotes. And in between, it's also about me. What does it really mean to be a woman, to have this odd family and claim a bit of a space in life, in love, and on trains?
I think one of the inevitable truths about being a dog parent, and there is no escaping it, is that time is limited. And there is the inevitability of loss. How has that.
Don't remind it.
No. I'm not talking about your current dog, but I'm just saying, have you at any point thought that the grief is too much to bear and you're not going to? Because I know people who are passionate dog lovers who say never again. But for me, I think it's been the opposite, in the sense that we've always had more dogs. Because I think dogs are just addictive, right? You can't live in a world without them if you have lived in a world with them. But is that something, Divya, that you thought when you lost Tigress? Because I know how profoundly shattered you were.
I think some of the greatest love stories are the shortest love stories as well. And that's what is with Tigress. It was absolutely one of the most wonderful time. And I would go through that pain 100 times more to have those 17 years with her. So I would always rescue, because the love is greater than the pain, the grief of passing. And we have so much memory, and I think the book is a love letter to her as well. So for me, I think I will never stop rescuing dogs or having animals in my life.
ശരിക്കും നമ്മൾ നായ്ക്കളെ നന്നായിട്ട് മനസ്സിലാക്കാത്ത, ഐ എം സോറി, നോ, അവര് അഗ്രസീവ് ആകുന്നത് പലപ്പോഴും പേടി കൊണ്ടാണ്. ഒന്ന്. രണ്ട്, ഞാൻ ആനകളെക്കുറിച്ച്, നമ്മളുടെ ഹ്യൂമൻ എലിഫന്റ് കോൺഫ്ലിക്റ്റിനെ കുറിച്ച് ഐ വാസ് reading about human-elephant conflict and about some of the most aggressive wild elephants in Kerala. And I found one of the veterinary officers told me that on postmortem, on doing postmortem on one of the elephants, one of the most conflicting elephants, he recovered about 80 pellets from its body. And just imagine how sensitive an elephant's body is, skin is. And it is like being shot day after day, sometimes more than once a day. And it is having this pain in his body that it is quite natural for to become aggressive.
Yes.
ജസ്റ്റ് ലൈക്ക് ദാറ്റ് ഈ നായ്ക്കളുടെ ഒരു പ്രശ്നം, നായയെ നമ്മൾ ഒറ്റ സ്പീഷ്യസ് ആയിട്ട് കാണുന്നു. നമുക്ക് എല്ലാ നായ്ക്കളും ഒരുപോലെയാണ്. സ്ട്രീറ്റിൽ കാണുന്ന എല്ലാ നായയും നായ്ക്കളാണ്. അതുപോലെ നായ്ക്ക് ഒരു പക്ഷേ എല്ലാ മനുഷ്യരും മനുഷ്യനാണ്. ഇറ്റ് ഡസൻ ഡിഫറൻഷിയേറ്റ് ബിറ്റ്വീൻ യു ഓർ മീ. We all belong to this species which is always which it has seen as an aggressive or dangerous species. സോ അത് മനസ്സിലാക്കാതെ എങ്ങനെയാണ് നമുക്ക് നായ്ക്കളുടെ പ്രശ്നങ്ങളും നായ്ക്കളെ കൊണ്ടുള്ള പ്രശ്നങ്ങളും സോൾവ് ചെയ്യുന്നതെന്നുള്ളതിനെ പറ്റി മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ ഒരു ഒരു കുറച്ചുകൂടി മനുഷ്യത്വപരമായൊരു സമീപനം വേണമെന്ന് എനിക്ക് തോന്നിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. ബിക്കോസ് ദർ ഇസ് വൺ സേയിങ് ദാറ്റ് യു കനോട്ട് എവർ കോൺകർ നേച്ചർ, യു ക്യാൻ ഓൺലി അണ്ടർസ്റ്റാൻഡ് ഇറ്റ് ആൻഡ് അഡ്ജസ്റ്റ് വിത്ത് ദാറ്റ്. നോ, അപ്പോൾ ഒരു ജീവിയെ unless you understand an animal or a bird or another human being for that matter, how can you live with it? ഈ പീസ്ഫുൾ കോ എക്സിസ്റ്റൻസിൻ്റെ മാർഗങ്ങൾ എന്താണ് എന്ന് ആലോചിക്കുന്നതിന് പകരം ദ ഈസിയസ്റ്റ് വേ, അതായത് ടെർമിനേഷൻ ഓർ ഈവൻ വേറെന്തെങ്കിലും മാർഗം, അതിനെ ഒഴിവാക്കൽ മാർഗം ആലോചിക്കും തോറും ആക്ച്വലി നമ്മുടെ എക്സിസ്റ്റൻസ് തന്നെയാണ് ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടിലാകുന്നതെന്നാണ് വാട്ട് വി ഹാവ് ഓൾവേസ് ലേൺഡ്. ആൻഡ് ഐ തിങ്ക് വി ഓൾ ഷുഡ് ഡിസ്കസ് ദിസ് വിത്ത് മോർ സെൻസിറ്റിവിറ്റി ആൻഡ് മോർ kindness, no, instead of cruelty.
Yes. And that brings me to the present situation. And I think the session title also is a uneasy relationship with our dogs. It's been a very difficult time. It's been a difficult time if you are a dog lover or a pet parent to see what is happening. I think, and we will talk about indie dogs in particular. All three dogs of yours, they are indie dogs, right? But I think what is really there's a court, there's a hearing in Supreme Court going on as we speak. I think battle lines, for want of a better term, have been drawn, and you have dog lovers, and there are those who are actually arguing for extreme measures. We all know that ABC, which is the Animal Birth Control Program, has not been a success. I think instead of attributing the responsibility where it lies, somehow dogs are being vilified and dogs are being punished around the country. So I just wanted to touch upon this with both of you, also in terms of your relationships with what you call, community dogs or street dogs, and how you think. I mean, I think that they are a fundamental part of any society. I mean, you cannot have a neighborhood in India without having its street dogs. But clearly, that is something that is being taken away. Do you want to just talk about that a bit?
So for me, I think the whole thing, I can't imagine my life or imagine being in Delhi without these community dogs, because they're part of our ecosystem. They have been there forever, and they always made me feel safe. So even if I'm walking at night at 9 o'clock in Delhi, which is quite unsafe, I feel safe because of these dogs. Some of the dogs will follow me, trail me, but I've never been hurt by them. I think I've been hurt more by humans than by dogs. And as a species, I think humans are the most destructive and most dangerous. So when all this is happening, I think just reflects on the times we are living in, because people are very, very intolerant of everything. There is no coexistence. So it's not about dog lovers versus non-dog lovers. No one is asking everyone to adopt a dog or rescue a dog or go feed a dog. It's just about peaceful coexistence, which is totally missing. So for me, it's also disturbing because my dogs came from the streets of New Delhi, and this is where it's all happening. And they gave a meaning to my life. They changed my life, and they are the most wonderful companions I've had. And indies and street dogs in general are much more strong, sturdy, They're highly intelligent. So if you ever get to read my book, you know how incredible, like they pick up things which I don't imagine they would have. So obviously it's very disturbing, but it also reflects a larger picture that we are absolutely intolerant as a society, not just of dogs but of women, of single women. There's so much of moral scrutiny around every single thing we do. And last night someone told me that I sound like a middle class intellectual who only fight for dogs. And I was very surprised. So I said, at least I fight for something. So it's better than doing nothing.
Meera, you have a powerful voice. What would you like to tell people to say, you know, give us a
അല്ല
message?
ഇതൊരു വളരെ കോംപ്ലിക്കേറ്റഡ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ദിസ് വെരി കോംപ്ലിക്കേറ്റഡ് വിത്ത് മോർ ദാൻ വൺ
Yes.
ലെയർ ടു ഇറ്റ് ബിക്കോസ് I have observed that people who are scared of animals are scared to death.
Yeah.
So this fear is ingrained in them because of one incident or one or more incident. I was bitten by a dog. I still have the scar on my knee and my elbow. And that was a dog in my great granduncle's house. And I think he was a grumpy dog, no? Although our dogs were, my grandmother's dogs were very lovely, this dog was never friendly. And then one day I climbed a tree um, uh, um, and then I fell down. I was just 8 or 9 years old, and I fell down on the dog, and he was sleeping there. I couldn't see him. The sand and the color of the dog were the same, and because it was a kind of summer vacation, the dog was kind of digging a pit and lying there for some cool thing, no, to cool itself. So I fell upon him, and he was suddenly scared and bit me, and I had to be taken to the hospital and all. But later on, even though that dog was never friendly with me, afterwards when I went to that house, he would look at me with a very guilty eyes. So this was something, he never barked at me. He just looked at me with a very guilty eyes. And remembering that, I think given a chance, all those dogs who had been aggressive, who had been fiercely attacking humans, had a more and miserable,
Traumatized.
Yeah.
traumatized experience before they did that. And that was because of we humans.
Yes.
Was there any other way to resolve that is my question, because one of our poets, not poets actually, he was a social reformer, സഹോദരൻ അയ്യപ്പൻ. He had written, വലുതിന്നിര ചെറുതെന്നത് മൃഗജീവിത നിയമം, ചെറുതിൻ തുണ വലുതെന്നതു നരജീവിത ധർമ്മം. That means where the bigger thing eats the smaller thing is the rule of the animal. But where the bigger thing supports the smaller thing, protects the smaller thing, is what the human moral should be. No more, it's kind of. So when thinking about this, we have all this, we are very advanced scientifically, technologically, and yet we can't find a solution to exist peacefully with others is something which is alarming, no? We can't exist with an animal which has evolved just for the humans. We can't tolerate even other humans. And this is where what Durga said, no, it lies in the crux. So in എൻ്റെ ഒരു പുസ്തകത്തിൽ ഞാൻ എഴുതിയിട്ടുണ്ട്, മറ്റ് മൃഗങ്ങളുടെ കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങളോട് ദയവ് കാണിക്കാത്ത മനുഷ്യർക്ക് സ്വന്തം കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങളോടും ദയവുണ്ടാകില്ല. ഇതെനിക്ക് എപ്പോഴും ശ്രദ്ധിച്ചിട്ടുള്ളതാണ്. ദാറ്റ് യു മസ്റ്റ് ഹാവ് റെഡ് നസാസിൻ, വെയർ ഐ ഹാവ് റിട്ടൺ, ഇഫ് you can't show some kindness or compassion towards the young ones of animals, you can't expect that person to show compassion to his own. So this is kind of
And I think that's a wonderful, wonderful note to actually open this up to questions from the audience. Sorry, Divya, did you want to add anything before we take a question?
Apologies for speaking in English. I'm not very fluent with Malayalam. First things first, Meera, I'm a huge lover, admirer, fan of your Hang Women. I read that in English and I was blown away. Totally blown away.
Sorry, your mic. Can you put your mic closer to you?
Can you hear me now better?
Yes, better.
So I was just praising Hang Women. I was just blown away by that few years back when I did that. So thanks for giving that to us. And I've grown up with dogs all my life. I still have dogs. I've grown up with cats as well. So I've always been fond of them. And my question is to Divya. So Divya said that dogs are cute, sweet, loving. In fact, you said that humans are aggressive and harmful. I'm trying to understand this. Help me understand this, Divya, please, because we sit in air-conditioned rooms, we work in air-conditioned offices, we speak from a point of privilege. Do you ever think about people that deliver food to your houses in the middle of the night, where dogs chase them? Are you out there helping them? If you're living in gated societies, do you let dogs inside the gated society? Do you argue with your neighbors? Why do you guard your balconies with nets, not letting the pigeons in? You use all kind of chemicals available under the sun to prevent cockroaches, lizards, bugs enter your houses. Help me understand this, Divya, please. Okay, I'm not done. I'm not done yet. Okay.
Could you wrap up your question quickly so we can move to the other ones?
Yeah. Allow me one moment. So, I guess probably 2-3% of the world's snakes are poisonous. But if you look at the snake, Divya, would you think, wait and understand if it's poisonous and then approach it, or would you just run away? I'm trying to understand. So help me understand how humans are aggressive and tell me, how other people who work day in, day out, laborers, how they should coexist with dogs. Thank you.
So for me, so this book is a part memoir, and this I'm talking for my own personal experience. So for me, people have hurt me more than any animal have. I was 12. Someone attacked me in Delhi, and I was just 12 years old, and he hurt me. And it has happened. And there was only one dog which was passing by, and he barked, and my mom could hear to save me. So this has happened multiple times where I have felt that people have our heart, and no dog is a bad dog. If you're beating them, if you're aggressive at them, you're kicking them, so they are bound to react. So you're not going to tell me that just because people who are working on street, they are bitten. That's what you're telling me. Is that what you're? And how many people have harmed animals? Let's talk about that as well. And how many people have harmed other people? And
Sorry, can I just interject here? If I may, I don't think that anyone is denying that there is a problem. We do have a problem. No. I think the the question is really how are we addressing the issue and how have we come to where we are? The other question is, are we saying that dogs are the problem, or are we saying that dogs are as much a victim as the humans are in terms of the crisis that we face? Now, I'm not going to get into too many technicals, but there are a few things. One is that we have an ABC program, which is the Animal Birth Control Program. That has failed monumentally. The people who are supposed to implement that have the resources, they haven't done anything about it. Now, I'll give you another example of a dog being picked up for vaccination or picked up for sterilization. The dog is often put back into another territory. What that means is that that dog is now faced with other dogs in that territory, and that makes that dog, say, angry or hostile or afraid. The third thing, municipality and what you see as big garbage dumps. Now, those are not clear. And I'm just giving you small examples. I'm not saying that this is a human versus dog situation. I'm saying that the blame that is being apportioned is to the wrong part of this equation. Yes, we do have a crisis, but I think the question really is how can we actually work together to solve this crisis? No one is saying that there is a problem, there is not a problem, and you're absolutely right. There are people who live on the streets who are faced with this. But is killing all dogs or sending them away to what is certain death by creating these so called mythical sanctuaries the solution? I don't think that that is the solution. But why can't you vaccinate dogs? That's the whole idea. It's not going to happen overnight. There are the means. The means are not being implemented. Okay, I respect your opinion. We are going to take other questions
Mithun,
and we can continue this.
ഞാൻ ചോദിക്കട്ടെ മലയാളം യു അണ്ടർസ്റ്റാൻഡ് അപ്പം എൻ്റെ ചോദ്യം ഇതാണ്. മിഥുൻ ഭയങ്കര ഇതിനെപ്പറ്റി വളരെ ക്ഷോഭിച്ചത് കൊണ്ട് ചോദിക്കുകയാണ്. വാസ്തവത്തിൽ ദിവ്യയോ ഞാനോ ഹേമാലിയോ നമ്മളിൽ ചിലരൊക്കെ നായ്ക്കളെ സ്നേഹിക്കുന്നത് കൊണ്ടാണോ ഈ സ്ട്രീറ്റിലെ പ്രോബ്ലം ഉണ്ടാവുന്നത്? അല്ലല്ലോ. ഞങ്ങളിൽ ചിലർ നായ്ക്കളെ സ്നേഹിക്കുന്നത് കൊണ്ട് അവിടെ ചിലർ അല്ല. അതാ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത്. സ്നേഹിക്കുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഇത് വേറൊരു ഡയമെൻഷനുള്ളൊരു പ്രശ്നമാണ്. അത് ഭരണതലത്തിൽ നിന്ന് വരേണ്ട ഒരു കാര്യമാണ്. അത് ഭരണതലത്തിൽ നിന്ന് ഒരു കാര്യം നടപ്പാകണമെങ്കിൽ അത് സമൂഹത്തിൻ്റെ ഒരു കൂട്ടായ ഒരു ധാരണ വേണം. ഒരു സ്ത്രീ ആക്രമിക്കപ്പെട്ടാൽ നമ്മൾ സ്ത്രീക്ക് വേണ്ടി സംസാരിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഉടനെ ആരെങ്കിലും ഇതുപോലെ വന്ന് ചോദിക്കുകയാണ്, നിങ്ങൾ സ്ത്രീകൾ, എൻ്റെ ഫേസ്ബുക്ക് പേജിൽ നോക്കിയാൽ അറിയാം, എപ്പോൾ നോക്കിക്കഴിഞ്ഞാലും കുറച്ച് മെൻ റൈറ്റ് ആക്ടിവിസ്റ്റ് വന്നിട്ട് പറയും, നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അവിടെ കുടുംബ കോടതിയിൽ മറ്റേ പുരുഷനെ തൊഴിച്ചപ്പോൾ നിങ്ങൾ എവിടെയായിരുന്നു, അയാളെ പിന്നെ അയാളുടെ കുട്ടികളെ പിടിച്ചെടുത്തപ്പോൾ നിങ്ങൾ എവിടെയായിരുന്നു. അതൊരു ചോദ്യം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ആ ചോദ്യം വെറുതെ ഒരു ചോദ്യം മാത്രമാവും. എങ്ങനെ ആവാതിരിക്കണമെങ്കിൽ ഞാനും മിഥുനും നമ്മൾ ഇവിടെ ഇരിക്കുന്നവരെല്ലാവരും തന്നെ അതിനെന്താണ് സൊല്യൂഷൻ എന്ന് ഒന്നിച്ച് ആലോചിക്കണ്ടേ, അത് നടപ്പിലാക്കാൻ ശ്രമിക്കണ്ടേ. അതല്ലാതെ നമുക്ക് എന്തു മാർഗമാണ്? നമ്മൾ ഇവിടെ ഇരിക്കുന്ന 3 പേരെ നിങ്ങൾ ചോദ്യം ചെയ്തത് കൊണ്ടോ ഞാൻ അതിന് ക്ഷോഭിച്ചത് കൊണ്ടോ വല്ല മാർഗവും ഉണ്ടോ അത് തെളിക്കാൻ? എനിക്ക് എൻ്റെ റിക്വസ്റ്റ് ഇതാണ്, യു കം അപ്പ് വിത്ത് എ സൊല്യൂഷൻ. വാട്ട് വിൽ ദ സൊല്യൂഷൻ? ഇസ് ഇറ്റ്
We will have to, as you rightly mentioned, we will have to work towards
Exactly,
that.
exactly. Thank you, Nitin.
But the point is that privileged people are forgetting to acknowledge the fact that even humans are being harmed by dogs on streets, because we see that day in day out.
That's not nobody
Nobody
hasn't
denied that.
Yeah, denied that. It is a problem, and it is a problem. The problem is അത് ഏതാനും പേര് മാത്രം വിചാരിച്ചിട്ട് കാര്യമല്ല, പരസ്പരം കുറ്റപ്പെടുത്തിയത് കൊണ്ട് തീരുന്നതുമല്ല. അതിന് പകരം വളരെ കൃത്യമായൊരു ധാരണ ഇതിനെപ്പറ്റി വേണം. നമ്മളതിനെപ്പറ്റി ചിന്തിക്കുകയും കൂട്ടായി പ്രവർത്തിക്കുകയും വേണമെന്നേ എനിക്ക് പറയാനുള്ളൂ. താങ്ക് യു, മിഥിൻ.
Yes.
Hi. So I'm going to speak from an even more outside position. It's quite visible. I've been coming to Kerala for about 20 years. I study Kathakali in the villages around Shoranur and Thrissur. And I have always had an excellent relationship with the dogs, the street dogs that are in the villages. So my experience is not with city urban street dogs. It's more with village street dogs. I'm very concerned by what's happening. As an outsider, I'm very concerned by what's happening with the Supreme Court hearing right now. I think having street dogs or having this coexistence is an amazing, unique thing. I don't think it's a question of being third world, because there are other countries with rabies problems, for example, Indonesia, the Philippines, where there are vaccinations. So vaccination can happen, actually. I think it's a question of political will. And
Yeah.
I really would like to hear you on the problem that I see now, which is the polarization via social networks. So I'm not a big fan of Instagram, but I have to use it for various reasons. And so I follow, notably, I've rescued a dog in Kerala. Anyway, I'm not going to tell you my life story. But the point is, I see all these Instagram posts coming up with dog lovers because they've identified, the algorithms have pinpointed me as one. So I also know that those same posts, the algorithms is also going to, for example, today, produce a deep fake of a rabid dog eating a baby's face. And this is usually what I hear when and there was a vaccination campaign. I was in Chennai yesterday. There was a vaccination campaign there. I asked people what was going on. These dogs were being forced down with nets.
Yeah.
I'm not going to intervene because I'm an outsider, but I stopped and asked and said, what's going on? Are they coming back here? Are they going to be brought back? Oh, it ate a baby's face in Tirunavatapuram. So this is why we're doing it. But we don't have the shelters here in Chennai to put them, so we're vaccinating. So it's almost like vaccination is a second-class solution to the idea of shoving them in shelters, which for me is like a concentration camp, because I have absolutely no idea what the outcome of that is, apart from, as you said, death. I don't see what else can be done if you put them in those shelters. So I'm really interested in hearing you on how to talk to people, how to ensure that you can raise awareness. I'm assuming that the people here in this session like animals, because I don't think people who hate animals will come and listen to this talk when there's so many other talks going on in the KLF. So my question is really, how do you ensure, and I've had this with neighbors in the houses I've stayed in, I only stay for 2-3 months a year. I've had situations where I've looked after dogs and I have a real moral conundrum with this, because I feed them for 2 or 3 months, I give them love, I receive love, And then I go back, I live in Paris, I have a small apartment. I can't keep a dog. I won't do that to an animal. I'm not going to leave a dog in my flat. And it's very different to here. So this situation is so rare and so unique that you can coexist, that animals can have a degree of freedom, that they can have a degree of autonomy. And again, I've being in India, being in Kerala, it's the place where I really understood that an animal, you're not a pet parent. In relation to street dogs, you have basically they choose you. It's elective. It's an elective relationship.
Madam, brief question. Come to a question, please.
And just to finish, just on the awareness raising, etc., going back to the same villages, the same house, etc., this dog came running across the paddy to see me, and the family I'm friends with said, "Oh, he remembers you, and oh, Sneham." And for me, it's like, yeah, of course he remember. I remember the dog, so why wouldn't the dog remember me?
So, sorry, your
anyway,
question is how do
My
we
question
actually...
is, how do you raise awareness? How do you break down the silos of polarization, especially with AI and deepfakes?
So the dog remember everything, every trauma, every face, every little gesture of kindness. And when I write about it, I don't write, we talk about privilege. I just talk about from the point that coexistence is really possible. There are a lot of people who are willing to take care of dogs, feed the dogs, but there is so much aggressiveness to anyone who wants to take care of those dogs as well. I was living in a very nice neighborhood of Delhi, Haus Khas, and I had this constant fights with the Resident Welfare Association just because I had Indies and they said, "Ye to jangli kutte hain. Why do you have them? If you had a breed dog, it would have been better." So there is a lot of things about people have against Indies, street dogs, and they don't understand how incredible they are. So I think talking about it, adopting, rescuing, sterilizing, and being kind is the only way to coexist. And I think we are forgetting to coexist in multiple levels. It's just not about dogs. And like I mentioned before as well.
അനുകമ്പ കമ്പാഷൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഒരു ദിവസം ഉണ്ടാകുന്നതല്ല. You need to train yourself to be compassionate. And the training starts from within your home and it has to extend all through your life.
Yeah.
The moment you stop being that training or that being compassionate is an important thing, everything is lost. That strand is lost. അപ്പോൾ എനിക്ക് പറയാനുള്ളത്, നായ നമ്മളെപ്പോലെയൊക്കെ തന്നെ ഒരു ടെറിട്ടോറിയൽ ജീവിയാണ്. അതിന് ഒരു ഇൻഡിവിജ്വാലിറ്റി ഉണ്ട്, അതിനൊരു സ്വഭാവമുണ്ട്, അതിന് ഈ ഭൂമിയിൽ ഒരു അവകാശമുണ്ട്. ഇതൊക്കെ റെസ്പെക്റ്റ് ചെയ്ത് അതിൻ്റേതായിട്ടുള്ള പ്രശ്നങ്ങൾ പരിഹരിക്കാൻ ശ്രമിക്കാതെ ഈ പ്രശ്നം ഒരിക്കലും പരിഹരിക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്നില്ല. കുറച്ച് നായ്ക്കളെ കൊന്നൊടുക്കിയത് കൊണ്ടോ കുറച്ച് നമ്മൾ രോഷാകുലരായതുകൊണ്ടോ പ്രശ്നം തീരുന്നില്ല. What we want is to work together, understand the problem, and resolve the root cause behind it. Unless there is no solution to this. ഇങ്ങനെ തന്നെയാണ് നമ്മൾ മറ്റ് മനുഷ്യരെയും ഒഴിവാക്കാൻ ശ്രമിക്കുന്നതെന്നുള്ളതാണ് എന്നെ അലട്ടുന്ന പ്രശ്നം. Unless you are compassionate to the animals, you cannot be compassionate to your fellow human beings as well. അത്രയേ ഉള്ളൂ.
Thank you, Meera. The perfect note to end this conversation on. Clearly a very emotive subject. But please check out Chaos in a Coupe. Check out Meera's books. I'm sure you all are familiar with her works already. And thank you very much.